Morning, Mike.
I've just been, literally before I was about to speak to you, a breaking news story coming out of the Sun's website. You can smoke in beer gardens. West Streeting confirms in another Labour U-turn. As a new cigarette ban is announced. Vape adverts and sponsorship will also be banned under legislation, but pub gardens remain the place to go if you want to have a smoke.
Yeah, that's right. Much discussion over the summer about the smoking bill and the vapes bill, the legislation coming back to Parliament this week. And one idea in contention was the fact that the government were thinking about banning smoking in pub gardens. Now, it seems all the lobbying and all the pressure put on ministers in recent weeks and months on that has paid dividends, because the government has, in effect, backtracked slightly. Keir Starmer was asked about this in recent months, and he didn't kill off the idea. So many people did believe that a smoking ban in pub gardens could go ahead, but with this new legislation, they have decided not to go ahead with it. One of the things that was under discussion in government circles and in Whitehall was the fact that which pub gardens do you include in this? Do you include ones, pubs that may have a lot of space, an acre or so, or do you include pub gardens who may have a very small courtyard? They may be outside, but they may still cause harm. So this was the contention.
Absolutely. Well, I think the Sun should take some credit for this, though, because it was you guys that broke the story in the first place, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. My colleague Jack Elson broke that. Seemed probably several weeks ago, and the lobbying campaign started since we did the story. So I think that a lot, along with us, and I think the pub industry, the hospitality sector as well, have all been behind this to make sure that, and also it comes down to personal freedom. People think that they should be able to smoke where they want, and I think one of the things the pub industry said, they felt like their takings would take a hit, especially when the health concerns may not be all that great.
Well, particularly now that we've got the budget, which means that if you do own a pub, you're probably going to have to pay the bar staff a lot more money. You're going to have to contribute more to their national insurance payments to the government as well. So they'd have to be a bit careful not to give too much of a whammy to the hospitality industry, no?
Yeah, very, very difficult. And we've got a poll in the paper today saying 88% of pub landlords weren't particularly happy with the budget. Also, you just mentioned the national insurance rise that many of them will have to pay, but also penny off a pint. Now, that made a difference when you may have go back to my university years, pound a pint and all that. But when pints are £4, £5, £6, sometimes £7, £8 in London, it doesn't make that much difference. So I think they see the budget as not helping them out as much as what it could have done. No,
indeed. I like the Sun's kind of equation that they did. Buy 500, get one free. You basically got to drink 500 pints to get one that didn't cost you any money. Let's talk about what's on page 10 of the Sun today, on the leader page. Another 1,227 migrants arrived here just last week. So what are you waiting for, Keir? This is your colleague Jack Elson again, talking about Keir Starmer's latest sort of tilt, if you like, at the illegal migrant business. He's up in Glasgow talking to Interpol. He's talking about making more money available for drones to monitor the illegal migrants. He's talking about fast-tracking people into jail, all of which sounds possibly a good idea, but will any of it work?
Yeah, exactly. Some warm words there from Sir Keir Starmer yesterday when he was up in Glasgow. There was a little bit more money for the authorities to play with. But one thing that Keir Starmer sees as the deterrent, the last government saw Rwanda and those flights off to Rwanda as being the big deterrent, whereas Sir Keir Starmer sees it as tackling the problem upstream, tackling those smuggling gangs and actually trying to intercept them. Now, not only trying to intercept the personnel and the individuals running these people smuggling gangs, but actually trying to get to the boats to make sure that those people making the boats cut them out of the circuit, and to actually make sure that those small boats, those dinghies, don't actually get to France. That's one aspect. But many critics will look at the policy and say that there is no overriding deterrent. Now, you may say trying to get through the trying to sort of prosecute is one, but these smugglers are clever and they try to evade it at every turn. So that's good. That is the problem for Sir Keir. Now, he is going out to Hungary this week to to speak to political leaders,
Yeah.
and he'll be talking to Italy's Meloni, the Prime Minister there. Now, what they've got a scheme set up with Albania for offshoring, which is where they will be processed. So you just wonder whether that will come into the thinking of Sakir when in the coming weeks and months.
Indeed. But even the Sun's leader says Labour still pretend it causes trafficking gangs, but in fact it's a Britain whose liberal civil service, legal system and now government puts up all comers in style and lays on a new life. And I think that's right, isn't it? Because people say to me, unless you create a deterrent, unless you make it impossible for people to come or make it less attractive for people to come and more easy for them to be deported, then it's never going to be solved, this problem, is it?
No, exactly. And I think if you combine that with the weather, I think the weather seems to have been quite good and quite calm for crossing the channel in recent weeks, and the numbers really have gone up. So you combine that with the fact that when people come here, they often don't have any ID. They throw it overboard, or they don't bring any with them, and they claim asylum. It's very, very difficult to get rid of or to deport some of these people, and lots of them come from countries that aren't particularly safe, whether that's Afghanistan or Syria, and actually getting them back is difficult.
Well, now they're saying they're going to fast-track asylum claims from Afghanistan, Iran and Syria. I don't know what that means. Does that mean they're going to fast-track them so they can stay, or fast-track them so they can kick them out? Because they can't kick them out.
Yeah, that's the problem. You can fast-track the claim, so you work out whether they actually have a legal claim to be here. But Britain certainly isn't going to be sending back any asylum seekers back to Afghanistan anytime in a hurry. So that is the big dilemma. I think what they'd like to do, and one thing that Downing Street were talking up yesterday, the enforced returns have been going up back to countries where asylum seekers can go back to. And also the numbers, they're very happy to talk up the numbers of foreign national offenders who've gone back to their home country as well. So I think with all of this, and I think the Conservatives would say this as well, and Labour would say this, there's just not one thing that will solve that. I think, obviously a deterrent plays a big part, but there are a multitude of factors that come together to try and tackle illegal migration.
And we should touch upon the latest U-turn, of course, from Labour, which is the tuition fees. Here's Keir Starmer back in 2020 talking about how they were going to abolish them.
What about university tuition fees then? Will you remain committed to scrapping them in your first term?
Pledges, Andrew. So the answer to these questions is yes.
So university tuition fees being scrapped will be in a Starmer manifesto?
Yes, that's why it's
the next election. OK.
He looks about 10 years younger, which is the thing that struck me about that, Ryan. It's only 4 years ago. But basically, they've now said not only are they not going to do away with them, they're going to put them up.
Yeah, that's right. There'll be about, I think, £250 or so for each student for each year when they come down to paying tuition fees. The loans have gone up slightly, but I think it's another kick in the teeth for students. You may say, oh, that's not very much over the grand scheme of things. They get many, many years to pay it back. But if you're thinking about going to university and taking on a big loan, you will be thinking twice about just going to university. You'll be
it's going to affect many families have got more than one child going to university. It's going to affect them. It's going to affect how their chances are of getting there. It's going to affect, you would think, the children of working people, isn't it?
Yeah, no, totally. And if you add that £250 over 3 years, it all adds up. And I think one of the reasons why these fees have gone up is because the number of international students has gone down. The visa curves do seem to be working in terms of bringing the numbers down, and someone's got to pay for them. So if you're not getting a big influx,
because we can't have those nice vice chancellors making £600,000-700,000 a year, having to take any pay cuts. We wouldn't want any of that, would we?
No, exactly. That's the other reason. You look at the big salaries and the perks of those university chiefs, and they, I suppose, might have to be paid for somehow.
Well, or you could just tell them, I'll tell you what, we're going to cut your salary in half, see if you want the job. If you don't, we'll give it to somebody else. I think